What's up, guys? Hello and welcome. This is Neldrin, and today we will talk about exercises, or commonly known as PvP. But before that, you know what it is, our question of the day. Given a chance to rework one ship, who will it be and what will be the changes? For me, I wanted to rework Renown. Her skill doesn't suit her being an elite rarity ship. She is somewhat useless, if you will ask me. I wanted to change her skill into something similar to How, wherein she will gain minor buff if sortied with Hood. And maybe additional effect, if she's in a flagship position without Hood in the fleet. These changes are referencing her history, which most of the ships in Azur also have this kind of treatment. Probably most of you are already familiar with the PvP system in Azur. For those who are not yet familiar, PvP is a feature in the game wherein you will set up your offensive fleet to battle other players' defensive fleet. Winning a battle will rank you up in the ladder, and will gain merit points, which is another currency in the game. You will be given as much as 15 attempts per day, but capped at 10 if you are not participating actively in exercises. You will receive your additional 5 attempts on the following time of the day. Also keep in mind that all remaining attempts will be removed once the season is ended, so try not to waste it. Either you win or lose, you will obtain merit points. The number of merit points you will get each battle is dependent on your rank. Regardless if you are a beginner or not, you will get the same amount of merit points as long as you are on the same rank. Now you might ask, does climbing the ladder is worth it? If your goal is to farm merit points, then yes. But if your goal is to reach and maintain the top of the leaderboards, then I doubt that it will be worth it. I know that being in the top 10 grants you a higher merit points reward, but you can only achieve this midway in the second week even when you are performing well. I suggest getting the promotion as much as possible to get the rewards, but don't stress yourself too much if you can't. Okay, now, you want to farm some points, what should you do? If you are a beginner, obviously you don't have strong ships to compete with these players. What you need to do is to take this opportunity to level up your ships. The higher the fleet power, the higher the EXP you will gain. Just take note that EXP gain here is not counted for the PR ship requirement. If you can manage to win a battle, the better, so that you can get your daily and weekly mission bonus merit points. Your fleet composition here does not matter, but I highly recommend to use your ships who will carry you until the late game. Ships like Hood, Enterprise, Unicorn, and your starter ship. If your offense fleet has fleet power around 8k to 11k, you will probably have an average win rate of 7 to 8 per day. Getting to rank 1000 and maintaining it is somewhat difficult. Around this time, your lecture hall is already unlocked. You can use this to prepare your PvP ships, which I will discuss later. You can also use your dormitory for your PvP ships to catch up on the level. Once you have fleet power around 11k to 13k, you will now consistently get into rank 1000 and maintain it. Just keep in mind not to miss a lot of exercise attempts, since there is a limit I mentioned earlier. Based on my experience, it is better to do the exercises once the refresh arrives, since you can rank up earlier compared to the majority and maintain the 1k slot. Usually when I'm slacking off, there are times that I will drop the 1k and miss some 10 merit points from winning. Now you have a battle plan to achieve and maintain your ranking to farm the precious merit points. You will probably ask, is there a PvP tier list? For sure you want to use the strongest ships in PvP to be able to get to the top. Unfortunately, we don't have a reliable tier list for offense fleet similar to Usagi-sensei's. For defense fleet, I highly recommend you to visit Azur Meta. His videos are informative and data-driven. Some of the composition mentioned in his videos gave me an idea on how to build my offense fleet. In my opinion, for an offensive fleet, you should invest in these ships. I will mention what they are good at based on my experience. Warspite retrofit is what I call the sniper in the team. With her red skill, you have a choice which to decimate first. She can be countered by evasion, but it is unlikely to happen. Unfortunately, if you missed the recent event for her retrofit, I don't think that the vanilla Warspite is good at PvP. While waiting for another rerun of this event, I suggest that you keep the extra copies of her since you will be needing at least 7 to complete her retrofit. You can obtain her via heavy construction pool and exchange shop. Juno is another must-have, for she has the best heal in PvP. The longer the battle you have, the more value you will get from her heal. She also has good anti-air. Paired with Sandy, they can counter the Fox Sisters, which is a popular defensive fleet. You can obtain her via light construction pool and 5-2. Hyria retrofit is also good even without her sister Suryu. Her blue skill sometimes will give you miracle wins. Paired with her retrofit skill which will bombard the enemy. You can obtain her at stage 3-1 to 3-3. Yuki Kaze is also a staple on Vanguard for the PvP fleet. She buffs your backline to be more tanky, and she heals them when things go wrong. She is a good combo with Juno since their heal do stack. You can obtain her via a light construction pool. And finally, for me, Amagi is the best ship in PvP. She attack. She protect. But most importantly, she debuffs your enemies. One minor downside is, she is an event-exclusive ship, so if you miss her you have to pray for another rerun. And if your prayers are granted, you have to pray again to get her in gacha, especially if you are free to play. Having the said ships will give you a higher chance of winning each PvP battle. But you should take note of things to avoid when picking your opponent. At first they look weak, but they are actually strong. If you are a beginner and wanting to get some wins, for sure you will check who has the least fleet power to battle. But take note that not all low fleet power means they are weak. You should also check on the enemy's level. The first common trap that you should try to avoid is picking a fight with a low fleet power, but higher level than your fleet. Sometimes you will encounter a fleet with only one Vanguard. A level 120 Laffy, or Ayanami, or Yuki Kaze with fleet power around 4k to 5k. If you have 3 Vanguards at an average level of 50 to 60 with fleet power of 5 to 7k, for sure you will be tempted to fight it since you have a higher fleet power. But you will be surprised that you are being beaten by a single unsinkable destroyer. Take note the destroyers move faster, especially when there are no cruisers in the fleet. This means that they have a higher chance of avoiding the attacks you are making. One counter to this is to use a slow debuff ship like Centaur. Or a carrier with strong dive bombers like Saratoga. Second, avoid an enemy fleet that has lower fleet power, but has Juno in them. Since Juno is a blue rarity ship, it is given that she has lower fleet points. You can try to experiment if you can defeat them, but usually she is paired with Yuki Kaze, which is already a red flag to me. Third to avoid is the IJN fleet led by Nagato, especially if she is accompanied by Amagi and Yuki Kaze. This fleet usually focuses on torpedo damage. Most of the time, their vanguard will consist of Noshiro, Jinsu, Ayanami, or Naganami. Torpedo fleet is usually the counter for Juno, since they can immediately delete 1 or 2 of your ships, rendering Juno's heal useless. If you don't see the mentioned torpedo gang, you are safe to approach this fleet. Lastly, if you see a combination of at least 3 strong ships that I mentioned earlier, try to avoid them since they are powerful, and they will give you a hard time at PvP. Now you might have observed that I did not mention the Fox Sister, who is popular in PvP. As mentioned earlier, their offense can be easily countered by Juno and Sandy. Another reason is that carriers cannot fight back if the Vanguard fleet has already sunk. They still need to wait for their cooldowns to deal damage while battleships have their secondary gun. The only carriers that I can recommend are Hiryu and Enterprise, because of their skill to avoid incoming damage. Centaur, Essex and Saratoga are inconsistent for me based on my experience. Sometimes they work well, and sometimes they don't. I still don't have opinions on Shinana, because I didn't get her, and it is rare to find her in PvP. And if I do, usually she's underleveled. Here's a bonus tip to increase your win rate. In case that you might lose to the battle, you can reset the battle by leaving and restarting the battle. Combat attempts are only consumed if the battle is over, so you can reset the battle as much as possible until you can secure your win. Or maybe you just realize that you need to avoid this opponent. Before we proceed, let's have a recap on things to avoid in PvP. For beginners and wanting to get some win, try to avoid high-leveled ships even if the fleet power is lower from you. Fleets with lower fleet power and have Juno in the fleet. IJN fleet that has strong torpedo ships. And fleet with strong PvP ships. Now that you know how to farm your merit points, what items are of best value? Merit points are usually used to buy yellow bullons. You can also buy cubes here. I suggest only buying these two. In case you need purple bullons, you may do so. South Dakota and Eldridge are highly situational. I bought them but never used them in battle both in PvP and PvE since there are stronger ships I got from events. I don't recommend using your merit points on gearboxes since they can be acquired on daily raids during Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday. Now to summarize everything. Play PvP to farm merit points. For beginners, play PvP to level up your ships. Try to invest in strong PvP ships. Avoid certain traps on PvP to avoid losing. And consume your merit points wisely. I hope that this guide helps you in understanding PvP. If I missed something or something that you disagree about, feel free to comment it down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more guides to come. And hit the notification bell. See you in my next guide.